My name is Bethany Gagne, founder of Numinous, the organization that sponsors the Global Peaceful Cities Project. And today, it's my absolute amazing pleasure to be able to speak with Dr. Bruce Lipton. Dr. Lipton has been on the faculty at the University of Wisconsin. He's done some groundbreaking stem cell research at Stanford, and he's become a world's international leader of bridging the science with spirituality. And one of my favorite accolades of Dr. Lipton is the fact that he's actually received the Goi Peace Award in Japan in his honor of scientific contribution to world harmony. So that's kind of special. You can learn more about Bruce's work when he teaches us how to think beyond our genes in his 3 books, The Biology of Belief, The Honeymoon Effect, and Spontaneous Evolution. Dr. Bruce, thank you so much for being here today.
I am so happy to be here with you. I'm so overjoyed because your mission is so important for the world, and we're facing such a crisis on the planet right now, and it all involves reorganizing our beliefs, our cultures, to learn how to live in harmony. Because the disharmony that we are creating is actually causing a mass extinction of the planet. And this is like, people are talking about Kardashians and stuff like that. It's like, no, you're missing, we're going extinct. And it's our behavior. And that this is not a million years from now. I mean, we're talking within a century. We're talking about, I mean, in 2048, which is 30 years, there will be no fish in the ocean on planet Earth. And it's like, wow. That's almost science fiction right there. And in 1970, they took a survey of how many animals were on this planet. And they recently redid the survey again. 60% of the entire animal population has disappeared since 1970. So we're down to about 1/3 of the animals on this planet. Excuse me?
I'm sorry, I missed that because of technical, there's some glitch. What was the percentage?
The animal population is down 62%. Meaning 2/3 of animal life on this planet have been lost since 1970. And so the 1/3 that's left is also disappearing very quickly. Science is trying to tell us about this evolutionary upheaval that we're experiencing. And yet the world is caught up in little details without looking. Now, there's this big picture hanging over your head, and we have to deal with this. It's so important for human civilization. And your work is very critical to help us transition from where we are into a world that is sustainable.
Yeah, and you've been working so passionately on this, and your work is just so elegant regarding this. So that's what I'm hoping our interview can do today, is empower people so that they can learn how to skillfully work with their hearts, work with intentions, to recognize that they can support the whole, that they can make a difference. So as an individual coming together in a community. So my first question, I have 3 questions for you, and each of the questions, I hope you can offer your science to help support, so people can help believe and understand more that they truly are capable of making difference. The first question is, our mission of the Peace Project is to teach as many people as possible to become coherent, and then make the better decisions that we make from a coherent body. We've worked with the Institute of Heart Math, and Dr. McCrady has been very gracious with us. So that's part of our protocol. And we teach people how to become coherent, kind of like athletes would train and musicians would train, is how do we hold this place of coherence in the body and hold it for long periods of time? Could you share with people why it's worth the journey? Why is it worth the time to train in coherence over time?
Okay. I think I'm going to start with a fundamental of science that we have to own. And we have to own this because, number one, it comes from quantum physics. And as soon as you say that, people say, oh, quantum physics, we're out of here. And I go, no, stay here for a minute. This is important. The world that we have been programmed to live in is a world based on Newtonian physics that sees the universe is divided into a material, physical realm and an energetic, invisible realm, and that the two don't really communicate with each other. And as a result, we live in the material realm based on the rules of material. Okay? The energy realm we sort of just disregard as not really being existent. I go, that's okay, that's interesting. But in 1925, the world of science changed. A revolution. It's called quantum physics. I said, well, what's the difference between them? Quantum physics recognizes that there's no duality, matter, and energy. Everything is energy. Now, why am I emphasizing this? Well, number one, most important fact, it's a science fact. The most valid, truthful science on planet Earth is quantum physics. Every other science has a certain amount of truth, but not as much as quantum physics. It's the most tested, verified science. I said, why is it relevant? And the premise is the first premise of quantum physics, which was told to us in 1925, but people just disregarded it, and that is this. Oh, actually, I'm going to use a quote, a sentence from an article that was published in the journal Nature. Now, Nature is one of the most prestigious scientific journals on this planet. The article was from Richard Conn Henry, a physicist at Johns Hopkins University. And this is the final sentence. The universe is immaterial. It's mental and spiritual. Live and enjoy. That's a quote out of a science article in the most prestigious scientific journal about quantum physics, the most valid of all sciences. What's the point? Everything is energy. What looks like matter is an illusion of energy and photons of light. Energy has no physical structure. You can't see it. And yet you and I are looking at each other through this camera and all this stuff, and I say I can see you and all that. And the joke about it is, well, if I'm invisible energy, how can I see me? And the answer is, it's the photons of light from the source, be it the sun or a light bulb or the glare of your computer screen. When photons hit the energy, they are bouncing back. If there are no photons, it's black. You can't see anything. There isn't anything there. When the light is on, you can't see the energy underneath the layer of photons, like a veneer of photons, hitting the surface, bouncing back. You're seeing reflected light. Are you seeing me? Nope, I'm invisible. And you go, well, that's really hard to, that's an illusion. There's a quote that's a very famous quote. I love it. It's from Albert Einstein. Material reality is an illusion, albeit a persistent illusion. And the fact is this. So it's very hard for us to switch from a belief system grounded in a physical, mechanical universe inside an energy universe. And it's like, I know it might be difficult, but it's not a choice. You don't get a choice and say, well, no, I want to believe in the Newtonian one. I go, no, it's the quantum one. And the quantum one is the universe is immaterial, it's energy, it's entangled, it's created through consciousness. Human consciousness is creating this world that we live in. Human consciousness is creating your own personal experience in this world. That's the fundamental truth of the most basic, valid, verified science on this planet. I say, why is it relevant? It's not a choice to listen to what I'm talking to. What I'm talking to about now is that's a science, and you can argue all you want, but that's the science. The science is this. We are creating a world that we experience through our personal consciousness. Now, the interesting thing about it is, but we can share consciousness with everybody else through programming and education. This is red. This is white. Oh, we all agree on it. So we see it, we all agree on it, and we make a collective vision. That culture on this planet is a collective belief of a large number of people, each with a belief about the world, but sharing enough of the details so that our image collectively is a common image. Okay? So the relevance about this is all a creation of consciousness. That culture, that individually, that's what biology of belief is all about. Biology of belief is the science of how your consciousness is adjusting your genetics and your behavior to manifest your life experience. And so we're manifesting experience through consciousness, okay? And you say, well, consciousness, that's inside my head. I go, well, yeah, I put wires on your head. I can read your consciousness, your brain function. It's called electroencephalograph, EEG. And I go, yeah. So they say, oh yeah, inside I'm doing all this consciousness. I go, okay, now there's a new technology called magnetoencephalograph, MEG. I go, what's unique about it? I go, well, it reads the brain activity just like EEG. But I say, what's different? The probe is out here. I said, what the heck does that mean? Just what does it mean? I'm reading your brain function out here with a probe.
Love it. Yeah.
Your brain, your consciousness is not contained in your head. Your consciousness is broadcast into the field, and it's shaping the reality. Now, the important part about that is everybody's like a tuning fork. Each of us have a consciousness that's unique for us, but we can share images of what the planet is, images of buildings, images of government. We can share that. The more people that share the same belief, the greater the vibration. If one person is like a tuning fork, one person's got a vibration, let's say I go out in the street today and I say, end war, peace on earth. I go, well, that's one tuning fork, that's pretty nice, but how's it affecting the field? I go, doesn't have much of an effect on the field at all. To have an effect on the field, the number of amplifications as every individual is sharing that belief and broadcasting the belief, the more people that broadcast a belief, the amplitude of that field is greater, and then it manifests as a reality when enough people believe in it. You can have peace if enough people believe in it. You can have war if enough people believe in it. And the idea is, well, then what about this belief? I say, well, the conscious recognition of this world is what quantum physics says we're using to create this world. And if we're using this to create this world, then what the point, bottom line is this, is look at what we're creating collectively and say, is this a good idea? And I will tell you, from a scientific perspective, it's a very bad idea. We're destroying the planet.
Right.
We're destroying each other. We're facing a mass extinction event that is due to our behavior. You want to change this planet? You want to change your personal life? First, you have to change your belief system. That will change your personal life. But if enough people buy into the same belief system, the amplification of that field, an energy, a vibration, is what shapes matter. Field shapes matter. As a matter of fact, another quote, again, from quantum physics and profoundly, seriously important, is a quote from Albert Einstein. The field, the invisible energy, the field is the sole governing agency of the particle. In physics, the energy field is the governing agency of particles, matter. And all of a sudden it says, oh my God, the energy is shaping what we call matter. And I said, that's quantum physics. That's not a question. That's not a suggestion. That's a fact of life. And that consciousness is an energy field that is profoundly important in shaping the material world in which we live. And therefore, we can look at the world and say, my God, it's a scary place. There's war, there's violence, there's all kinds of things going on. And I can entertain that belief like everybody else, watch the news, put it in my head, broadcast, yeah, I saw all the violence out here. I said, well, you can do that, or disconnect and broadcast the belief you want to have. And I've done this in my own personal life. In what way? Well, at one level, just personally, I was very successful as a scientist and a researcher. I got my grants, I published my papers, I did good stuff. My personal life was nothing to be proud of. As a matter of fact, it really sucked. And I say, well, why is it relevant? Because at some point when I really had to take in the simple reality that the life experience I have is not coming from the outside, but is being created by my consciousness on the inside. And then it said basically, well, if this is true what you're saying, then I should be able to change this thought and in the process change my life. Right, how effective is this? My last book called The Honeymoon Effect. I've been with my partner Margaret 22 years.
Yeah.
And the beautiful part about it is what? We learn to live the honeymoon every day of our life. Well, most people have honeymoon for a short period of time and then it disappears and goes back to regular life. If you change your consciousness, then a honeymoon can last every day of your life for as long as you live on this planet. And the idea, so how do I know this is true? Well, I wrote the book, Honeymoon Effect, based on the fact that I originally started not even believing love was real. I thought that was like a Hollywood story and we're all supposed to pretend we're so in love and everything. And it's like, I didn't believe in it. But once I understood it, once I learned it, once I changed my conscious programming and broadcast a whole different field, I found that I was living in the joy, harmony, love, beauty, honeymoon every day. And I realized this was not an accident. It wasn't a coincidence. It was an intention. And the world I live in, no matter what the heck is going on around me, crazy, crazy, crazy. And I'm like living in this beautiful eye of the hurricane, the calm, the beautiful, and all that. And it's like, is this an accident? And the answer is no. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't even my life. I had to change my life to create this, not by accident, but by intention, but by knowing the mechanisms and using those mechanisms, changing my consciousness to do what? Project around me a life that is not the same life I projected the first 40 years. Once I started getting around 50, it's like, wait, new life. And why is it relevant? I'm no exceptional anything or other. I'm just like anybody else out here. And I'm not saying is what? And I say, well, anybody can rewrite their program and change their life. And if we all collectively understand this, then the entire population is in a place right now that is necessary for the larger number of population. It doesn't even have to be half a population, just a large number of coherent people with the same vibrational tuning fork, a picture of heaven on earth, and the earth manifests heaven on earth. And all of a sudden it's like, wow, we're creating. I go, well, that was what quantum physicists said from day one. You're creating this with your consciousness. You want a different thing? Change consciousness. Don't change the world. That's where we waste our time. We waste our time. We're busy trying to move the pieces around to change the world. And I say, no, you don't even have to do that. Start with the picture you want. The world will manifest by itself without you even putting the effort in. And that is the fun part of this whole new biology.
And your work talks about how it's not just thinking, but that the body mirrors it with chemicals in the body, right? That enable us to sustain those higher states, right?
Oh, absolutely. See, the whole idea is this. We have been led to believe a false statement, and this false statement is disempowering, self-sabotaging, limiting, and that false statement is this: genes turn on and off. Why is it relevant? Well, if genes are turning on and off, and genes control the character of my life, and I don't control them turning on and off, they do it, then I'm not in charge of my life. I'm a victim of my heredity. My genes caused this. My genes did this. My genes gave me cancer. And it's like, completely false. We have been programmed with a false interpretation and we bought it. I say, well, what is the consequence of the false interpretation? The answer is I'm a victim. My life is out of my control. Genes, I didn't pick the genes. I don't like these genes. I can't change them. They're controlling themselves. I'm not doing it. So when the cancer shows up, I was just walking down the street and a victim of genes made me a cancer patient. I go, false. The whole belief that genes turn on and off, 100% false. A gene is a blueprint. A gene is a blueprint. The proteins of the body are the building blocks of the cells. The proteins give us our physical structure, and the proteins are responsible for our behavior. I go, yeah, but proteins are the molecules that comprise our cells and stuff. I go, yeah. I say, where do we get the proteins from? I say, from genes. And they go, oh, so the genes determine the character. And I go, no, you see, that was the old belief. The new belief is we will create the proteins based on our need and what we desire and what we have. And it may not be what we desire in a positive sense, and maybe it is what we desire in a negative sense, because we have a lot of negative desires that we don't know, but they're manifesting. And I say, why is it relevant? Well, the new science that I got involved with, and the new science that changes the world, is a parallel to the transition from Newtonian physics to quantum physics. Okay, Newtonian physics, you're a victim of the mechanical world. Quantum physics, you're the creator of the world in which you live. The science I was involved with, I started out in a regular curriculum teaching medical students, for example, the science of genetics. And we say genetic control. This is under genetic control. Your life is under genetic control. So what does that mean? It means genes are making decisions about your life, and that's what you're being controlled by. So I say, what does that make us when you teach somebody? Then I said, it makes us victims. Why? As far as I know, I didn't pick the genes. I can't control the genes. They control me. I am just a victim of my heredity. And victim means powerless. And so we program people to believe that their health and life and everything is out of their control. They have nothing to do with it. It's the genes. The new science, which I got involved with as a pioneer in this research, is called epigenetics. So genetic control means control by genes. What is epigenetic control? I go, it's the revolutionary difference between Newtonian and quantum physics in a biological realm. Genetic control, genes control you, you're a victim. Epigenetic control, let me just explain why the difference is. It sounds the same except for epi. And I go, yeah, but epi is the whole difference. Epi is above. It means above. So when I say, what's the word for skin? Epidermis. I say, what does that mean? Well, just underneath the layer of skin is a layer called the dermis. I go, yeah. And I say, where's the skin? It's just above the dermis, so it's called epidermis. Okay? So I say, epigenetic control, the new science. What does that mean? I say, control above the genes. It's not control in the genes, above, epigenetic, above the genes. I say, what's the control is that? I say, consciousness. Consciousness is determining our genetic activity and the character of our lives. You change consciousness and you change the genes and you change the cells, the behavior. And as you brought up just briefly, and I'll just connect it, how does my consciousness change my genes? And I go, because the cells are controlled by the environment in which they live, which is blood. I say, yeah, so the chemistry of blood changes. That's what my original research revealed. I could have genetically identical cells in different culture medium, which is the equivalent of blood. They're all genetically identical, but in this culture medium, they form muscle. In that culture medium, they form bone. In this culture medium, they form fat cells. And they're all genetically identical cells. The only thing that was different was the culture environment, the blood. I go, oh, so the environment is shaping the genetics epigenetically above the genes, environment above genes. I go, yeah. I go, so why is this relevant? And the answer is this, is that our blood is culture medium. Our body is like a skin-covered culture dish with 50 trillion cells inside being fed culture medium. The chemical composition of the culture medium controls the fate of the cells. Yes, we already know that. And then I go, so who controls the chemistry of the blood? Because that controls the fate of the cells. I go, yeah, it does. I say, the brain is the chemist. It controls through hormones and regulation of the glands what's going to be in the blood. And I go, oh, so the brain is the chemist. And then comes the biggest, most important question. So what chemistry should the brain release into the blood? I go, it's based on the picture in your mind. That's all it is, picture in your mind. I say, why? Picture of love? Oh, wonderful chemistry comes out of the body. Wonderful. Dopamine, pleasure. Yeah, why being in love is so pleasurable? Because the chemical pleasure is released with a picture of love. I go, and oxytocin. That's a bonding chemical. It says bond to that source of love. So that helps me identify the love and bond with it. Vasopressin is another wonderful chemical that comes out in the brain. And I say, what's that? That makes you attractive. Why? Because you want your partner to stay there. So all of a sudden you become more attractive because the chemistry of your blood is going to adjust your biology. And then most importantly, growth hormone, which does what it says. I say, so you mean when you fall in love, you release growth hormone? And I say, yes, it does. What does it do? It makes you healthy, gives you that rosy red glow of love. That's not an accident. That's an expression of hormones saying, boy, are we booming here. We're healthy. We got all this going. I say, so the chemistry that came from a picture of love changes the genetics to complement a picture of love. In contrast, the same person can have a picture of fear. Oh, I fear this. This scary. I say, what does that mean? Well, the chemicals that came out in love do not come out when there's a picture of fear. That's a different chemistry. Fear, I release stress hormones and agents that affect my immune system and all that. And I go, oh, that's a different behavior, a different environment, changes the cells in a different way. And in fact, stress from that fear is cause of what 90% or so of doctor visits is that people are stressed. Not that they have anything wrong with their body. Less than 1% of disease is even connected to genes.
Right.
Lifestyle, stress, love or stress, either or, you know. So what's the point? The point is simply this: I change the chemistry and the chemistry complements the picture. The picture of love, I get love chemistry. Picture of fear, I get stress chemistry. I go, oh. So I say, why is it relevant? My thoughts are controlling the chemistry, which controls my genetics. I change my thought, I can change my genetics. I go, I thought I was a victim. I go, that's a misunderstanding. You are controlling your biology through the pictures in your mind. And the biology is doing that to make your life match your beliefs. And if you've been programmed with negative beliefs, then what pictures are you holding in your mind? Well, certainly not positive outcomes. Negative beliefs are, that won't work. This can't happen. I'm going to get sick. Oh, the flu season's coming. These are all negative beliefs.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Guess what? They work like positive beliefs, just in the opposite direction. So everyone's familiar with placebo. I go, yeah, that's the consequence of a positive belief. This pill is going to heal me. I take the pill, get healed, then find out it was a sugar pill. And I go, well, what healed you? And I go, well, not the sugar pill. It was your belief in the sugar pill. Go, oh, yeah, placebo, positive thinking, positive result. And I go, that is fabulous, and most people know that. The most important thing that people don't know, negative thinking is equally powerful, but takes us away from health in the opposite direction. It's the power of thinking. Positive thinking, go toward health. Negative thinking, go toward death. Basically, that's what it comes down to. And so why is it important? Because nobody's ever given any credit to the negative thinking, which occupies the predominant thoughts in the average person are negative thoughts. It won't work. This can't happen. I don't deserve this. I'm not good enough. I go, oh, let's go back to quantum physics. My thought made a biology that matches the creation of my world.
Right, right. And cultivating the discipline to be able to maintain focus of mind, to be able to sustain those things is, you know, the benefit of training in meditation, right?
That's the whole idea. So the whole idea is, there's a term called being mindful. Being mindful. And I say, well, let's just step back 1 second and say, what's the difference here in the mind? Because we say the mind, it's like there's this one thing called the mind. I go, no. There are two things called the mind. They work together, and they are different in behavior and different in learning. And this is where all the problems of our world come from, but not recognizing the difference between the two. The latest evolution of the brain, conscious mind's right behind your forehead, a little lobe of tissue called prefrontal cortex is the seat of the conscious mind. Character of conscious mind, creative. It's creative. It has imagination. Animals lower than us, as you information, there's action, react, what's going on in the world, reaction, action, reaction, no thinking. But once you get past a certain point in the higher elevation of the evolutionary tree, then animals start to have an ability to also create, not just respond, but to create. The fullest expression, as we know right now, at least in our world, is humans, although I might doubt that myself, because I think maybe dolphins are smarter than we are. But the relevance about this is simply this, is that we are creating, and we're creating this with a mind. I say, yeah, but wait, there's two parts. I say, what are we creating with what's going on? I go, conscious mind, wishes and desires. What do you want out of your life? Bethany, you want what? You tell me what you want. I'll tell you why it's important. Because whatever answer you give me, by definition, it came from the conscious mind. That's creation, imagination. I'm trying to imagine something I want in the future. So by definition, it had to come from a conscious mind. So my wishes and desires, by definition, are the substance of conscious mind, wishes and desires. I go, what's the other mind? I go, subconscious. Matter of fact, that was here before the conscious mind. I go, what's that? Well, it's a stimulus response mind. Just stimulus response. Push the button, play the behavior. Push. And so there are programs. Subconscious mind has habits. Conscious mind has creativity. You need the habits to work with the creativity. You can't, if you don't have a habit mind, you don't know whether to get dressed, eat, or do. You don't know nothing. You got habits. We got habits. We live by them. And so the point about it is this: the conscious mind connected to our spirit is creative. The subconscious mind is just a database of programs. Most important part. The fundamental programs in the subconscious mind, the fundamental behaviors of how to be a member of a family, a parent, how to be a parent, how to be a family member, how to be a member of a community. These are programs. Each culture has different programs. And I say, well, it wasn't genetic. I had to learn how to be a member of a family in this country. In a different country, I have different rules. So everybody's experiences in how to be a member of a family and a community are based on downloading the behaviors by observing other people in the family and the community in the first 7 years. So the first 7 years of a child's life, the brain is not even reflecting consciousness. It's basically in a lower vibration. It's called theta. And theta is imagination. That's why children can mix real world and imaginary world. The tea party has no tea in it, but we certainly enjoyed that cup of tea. There was no tea in it. The horse that I was riding was called a broom, but not while I was riding it. It was a horse when I was riding it. And I go, oh, that's mixing real world, imaginary world, theta. But then the most important point is theta is also hypnosis. I say, why is it relevant? The answer is, to be conscious, you have to have programs to be conscious of. If there's nothing in the database, I say, be conscious of that. And you say, be conscious of what? There's nothing in there. I say, you can't be conscious.
Right.
My analogy that I sometimes use is I talk about an iPod. I say, well, that's a musical device where there's a touch screen on the front, and you can make a playlist and adjust the volume and the EQ and go fast forward. You can do all these adjustments. Oh, that's creative. Making a playlist is creative. I say, so I buy a brand new iPod, take it out of the box, and on the touch screen, I push play. And nothing happens. Being the old fart that I am is like, oh my God, I just got ripped off by Apple. I bought this iPod and it doesn't play anything. And then some little 7-year-old kid comes up to me and goes, hey, mister, did you download any music? I go, what do you mean? He said, well, you can't play anything unless you downloaded some music. It's like, oh, brain, iPod, consciousness is the touch screen, playlist, create a behavior. I go, from what? There's no data in the subconscious program. I have to download data. So nature has designed a child's mind for 7 years to be in download mode by just observing the world around it, observing the behaviors of mother, father, family, community, and downloading them directly in the subconscious, not even conscious, not even working for the first 7 years. And that's where you get your programs of life. And I go, well, there's a problem. Because the programs you just got are copies from other people. They didn't answer your wishes and your desires. Your conscious mind has a whole other different destination. I go, yeah, but if your programs came from those people, you may not get to your destination. And you say, well, do I have to play the programs? I go, well, here's the cool part that we mentioned, something about being mindful. And I go, if you stay in the conscious mind, then your creative mind is driving the vehicle. It's got the hands on the wheel. I say, oh, good. I'm driving my vehicle to wishes and desires land. That's what conscious mind is all about. I'm going toward love and joy and happiness. Like, great. I go, and I say, and how much of the day is my conscious mind driving this vehicle? I go, about 5%. You go, what do you mean 5%? First of all, hey, then who's driving the vehicle if my conscious mind's not driving the vehicle 5%? And the answer is, oh, subconscious is autopilot. What's the point? When the conscious mind's not driving the vehicle, then the vehicle is under the control of the programs in the subconscious mind. Okay?
Yeah, there's research on that, right? The wandering mind is like we're in the default mode network for like 46% of the time, right? And we're pretty miserable when we're there. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, yeah, well, 5% of the time you keep your conscious mind in the present front, you're driving a vehicle. And I say, if you're driving a vehicle with conscious mind, what's your destination? The answer is wishes and desires. That's what the conscious mind has. So if you're in the conscious mind, you can go toward wishes and desires. And then why is it only 5% of the day that you're using that conscious mind? The answer is this. 95% of the day, the conscious mind is engaged in thought. It's thinking. I go, yeah, but thinking is not out here. Thinking is in here. I say, why is it relevant? If I'm directing my conscious mind inward to process information inside. I go, yeah, but if it goes inward, it was driving the vehicle. I say, oh, conscious mind, you have to go inside. Let's go to the wheel. Conscious mind not driving the vehicle. I say, does the vehicle just stop until the thought is over? I go, no, vehicle, whether you're walking down the street, driving a car, doing a job, anything that you've learned how to do, which is a habit, it comes from the subconscious mind anyway. So what's the point? The moment the conscious mind is thinking, let's go of the wheel, autopilot, subconscious kicks in. And when subconscious kicks in, then you play programs. And the issue is this, yeah, but those programs are not even my programs. Basically, I got them from other people. I go, yeah, well, that's the problem. 95% of the day, you're not even going toward your destination. You're going toward your program. Since 70% or so of the programs that we get are disempowering, self-sabotaging, and limiting, then recognize this. You're not controlling your life where you want to go. That's only 5% of the day. You are programmed. and your programs are taking away your power. And so we feel powerless. We have been believing we are victims and all that, but that's a program. We are the ones who create. We can have any damn program, except you bought the program without consciousness, because the first 7 years you had to download something so that when consciousness kicks in at 7, it's got some programs to work with. But if we understood this, there are two things that could be different. Number one, if parents knew that their behavior was being recorded by their child, and to become the program of that child, then the concept of conscious parenting becomes profoundly important. It says, well, why not behave in a way to give the child more power? Let me show my power so that my child will understand that power and have that power. But most people don't believe they have any power. They're just playing their own programs they got from their parents. And so we're perpetuating powerlessness. Powerless. Why?
Yeah.
Who do you think you are? Oh, no, you don't deserve that. These are things kids hear in the first 7 years. They're not conscious until 7. So that means the first 7 years, all they do is record the words. They have no meaning to it other than the words. And so when parents tell their kids, oh, you don't deserve that, you're not that smart, you're not that beautiful, you're not that good, you're not blah, 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 which they meant just to, put needles in the kid so that the kid would do better. Like a coach does that to a player on a team. But the player on a team is older, understands the meaning of the coach that, oh, yeah, right now I'm slacking off and I should work harder and I'll do better. And that's consciousness. A kid under 7 gets told, you don't deserve, or you're not good enough. I go, is it thinking? I say, no. What's it doing? Recording. I say, so what's the program the kid walked away with? I'm not good enough. I'm not deserving. I go, oh, you got those programs. Why? Because I just copied what I was told. And I go, so why is it wrong? And we find out that 95% of your life is shaped by those basic programs. And you find out, well, most of those programs are negative. Then the consequence is simply this. Am I creating a positive life, or am I creating the kind of life that we see going on this planet right now? And the answer is, we are creating whatever the heck the program was. And the programs are entirely negative for most people. And the significance of their lives are struggle. They have great desires, conscious mind. I got wishes, I got desires. I go, yeah, but you're only using them 5% of the time, and therefore you're not going to experience that life. I go, how can I experience a life, the one that I want, with wishes and desires? Oh, simple. Stop thinking. What do you mean stop thinking? I say, be mindful, be present, observe, react, what's going on right now without thinking. Just live it, live it. And I go, oh, if I'm doing that, then by definition, I'm not defaulting to the subconscious. So I'm operating from conscious wishes and desires. I go, and this is how people experience something called the honeymoon. Their life could suck every day. Why? They're playing the same stupid program, self-sabotage, life sucks, life's hard, I'm struggling, blah, blah, blah. They meet this one person. 24 hours later, it's like, hey, life is beautiful. Life is, oh man, the music is great, the food's great, this relationship is the most wonderful thing. I'm having heaven on earth. I go, you mean your life sucked every day? And then 24 hours later, you have heaven on earth? Was that magic? I go, no. It meant for the first time in your life, you stopped playing the debilitating programs and started operating from wishes and desires. And that's what the mind's job was, is to manifest wishes and desires. But the moment the conscious mind lets go, you're back into the old program again, and then the whole thing falls apart. So the honeymoon is this usually short exception of life where you meet this person, experience the outright joy of heaven on earth, and then it slowly disappears. I say, why did it disappear? Because you started thinking more. And the more you were thinking, the more you started to bring up the negative programs, and the manifestation of the negative programs is a negative character. And all of a sudden you realize the honeymoon disappeared. And I say, yeah, but there was a lesson learned. I say, what was that? The moment you stopped playing the program, guess what you created? Heaven on earth.
I love it.
What's the point? Well, what if I never play the program again? Heaven on earth. Yeah, but that means being mindful all the time. I go, that's a difficult thing. Why? Because the world requires so much thinking of what we're going to do, what we've done, what we will do, all this thinking. I say, well, mindfulness is a good idea, but very difficult to obtain. So I say, oh, geez, then I'm stuck to only enjoy a honeymoon for a short period every now and then in my life. I go, well, no, because you can rewrite the programs in the subconscious mind. Wait a minute. What does that mean? I do not have to be a slave of the programs that got me to this negative place, my health place, be it a personal relationship place, be it a job place. If I'm in the wrong place, it's not working. I'm there because a program sent me there. If I don't want this, then I can rewrite the program. I go, yeah. And so the conclusion is like the most amazing conclusion. I said, well, what's the conclusion? I say, what if you took the wishes and desires of your conscious mind and turned them into programs in your subconscious mind? And then here's the answer, right? Heaven on earth every day for the rest of your life. Why? Because when you're being conscious, you're in control, you're going to run toward wishes and desires. But now with your new program, if your mind is thinking, guess what? You're still playing wishes and desires. And all of a sudden you realize every day, every minute, my mind's job making coherence with a program, but the program is wishes and desires, then I have heaven on earth every day of my life for as long as I live on this planet. And that is the destination. Why? Because if each of us was broadcasting wishes and desires, it turns out there's not 8 billion different wishes and desires. They're almost all the same basic wishes and desires. I want safety, I want food, a job, a place to live, a relationship. I go, that's everybody's wish. I go, why is it relevant? Because while a small percent of people are running the world, 1%. 99% of people, if they could understand that they could program their lives to manifest wishes and desires, and I let those 99% of the people manifest them, the vast majority will have the exact same wishes and desires. It will be a culture of harmony. It will be a culture of love, a culture of respect, a culture of honoring the environment. All of this would come if enough people just change their program. And should we change the program? Well, this is why the current moment of science is saying you damn well better change the program because the program is killing you. You want to survive, rewrite. And that's the destination.
Yeah. So there is a way out, and your work is an amazing kind of travel guide on our way out or into this journey. So people need to know it's possible. And your work, Biology of Belief and the Honeymoon Effect, and you don't have to be in love to have the honeymoon effect, right? You can train your nervous system to hold that space, right?
The honeymoon effect, the reason why I labeled it that is because most people, at some time in their life, had a love affair that when they experienced it, their world changed around them. So the largest majority can relate to what I was talking about. But as you brought up, do I have to have this because I need a love affair with another person? I go, no. Anything that keeps your conscious mind in the present moment, meaning anything that you love to do so much that you're keeping your conscious mind as you're saying. I mean, it could be a gardener. Put your hands in the dirt and plant and see the love and the joy and feel that. It's like, that's the same kind of love as with a person, same love, being here now, dealing with it. You could be a chef and make food from love and wishes and desires and create from that beautiful part. You can be an artist. You can be a school teacher. Why? If you can see the love of how you're affecting a future generation, you don't have to be in love with them romantically. It's the love of a creation that you're involved with. So the honeymoon effect does not really necessarily involve any other people. Could be your dog. I don't really care. Whatever keeps you in the present moment is what's keeping your brain operating from the creative, conscious wishes and desires. And the more you can be there, the more you manifest this.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Lipton, for your time
today.
Bruce,
it's called Bruce here, Bethany. Thank you very much.
Okay. But thank you so much. I mean, I know that you've really connected some dots for people and are, to teach them that this is possible, that you don't have to kind of be on drugs or Prozac or, you don't have to be living this perfect life to live in beauty and harmony and heaven.
No, you will manifest it because you're creating it in your mind before it manifests in the reality. If your mind doesn't have the beautiful picture in it, then you will only create whatever that picture is. And that's why people have to be careful, because they say, oh, I could get that flu. And I said, well, the moment you said you could get that flu, there's an image of you being unhealthy. And I go, well, oh, you're broadcasting. What are you going to do? You're going to create through quantum physics an experience to manifest what you just saw in your head. And of course you're going to get the flu. Who are the ones that don't get the flu? The ones that say, I don't have time for that stuff. I'm too busy. I got work to do. I got stuff to do. And all of a sudden, they don't listen to that. Guess what? They don't get the flu. Who got it? The ones that said, I could get the flu. Well, that's a vision.
Sometimes they get the shot too, and they still get the flu.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So
thank you so much.
I know we answered one question. You said you had 3. I don't know if there's anything left.
Well, just the final thing, because I think this really drives the point home that intention works, is any research you can pull out right now which would show that we can influence like simple biological organisms through our intention, which really shows that intention works over a distance. Like, do you have any things that you can
Placebo.
research?
The placebo effect.
How about over a distance though? Like, you know, so like some kind of cells over time, a distance.
Oh, over a distance? Affecting things over distance? Oh,
yeah.
Well, number one, let me give you this one. An experiment done with cells that was totally amazing. They took cells out of a person, put them in a petri dish, and moved the dish 40 miles away. So the dish of cells, 40 miles away, the individual gave the cell right here. And I say, okay, so they get the electrical readout of the cell, putting an electric monitor on the cell activity, and then send it back to here. So now we have a split screen. Me right now live, and on the other half of the screen is my cells 40 miles away electrical activity. Guess what? If I elicit an emotional response at this moment, my cells 40 miles away will have an excitation of their electrical activity at the exact same time. It goes, what? These are disconnected from me. I go, yeah, but the point is this. My thoughts aren't local in my head. My thoughts are broadcast all over the field. What? They went 40 miles away and affected my cells 40 miles away, okay? And you say, well, that 40 miles and affecting, that's really interesting. I go, hey, quantum physics has got even weirder stuff going on because Einstein referred to it as spooky action at a distance. And it says this, you can couple 2 electrons coupling together so that they're spinning. One spins clockwise, one spins counterclockwise, but they're coupled together, okay? I say, well, they're coupled together energetically. I say, yeah, but I can physically move them. I say, well, I can have 1 electron here and 1 electron completely on the other side of the world. If I switch the rotation of this electron, the other one on the other side of the world will switch its rotation at the exact same moment. They're connected. It's an entanglement. It's action at a distance. I say, well, what distance is it? Well, according to quantum physics, you can put 1 electron on this side of the universe and 1 electron on the other side of the universe, and instantaneously, faster than the speed of light, I change the rotation of one and change the rotation of the other. I'm entangled. The 2 electrons are entangled. One on one side of the universe changes, the other one changes the other side. Entanglement, action at a distance. I go, oh, well, guess what? It happens at every level. We can be entangled with anyone on the other side of the world at this moment. Mothers, especially so for this reason. As I just said, I can move my cells 40 miles away. I have an emotional response. My cells have electrical activity corresponding to that. Mothers raising a child in utero, the placenta, many of the embryo cells penetrate into the mother's body and they become stem cells in the mother. They found this out when they were looking at liver regeneration studies, and they found that many women who had regenerated the liver had cells with Y chromosomes in them. Well, Y chromosomes are male chromosomes. So how the heck did a woman regenerate her liver with male chromosomes? It turned out, well, she had a male child. Then they started to recognize, oh my God, the embryonic cells of the child can go into the mother and become stem cells. I go, yeah, they can. A research group in Italy found that many of these embryonic stem cells from the child go into the mother's nervous system. He said, so what? I said, she's a culture dish containing her child. I go, why is that relevant? Her child's on the other side of the world, just got in a car accident. Guess what? She's on this side of the world, and she goes, something just happened to my child. It's like, what do you mean? I go, yeah. They can experience the something happened because the cells got excited of the embryonic cells from her child got excited by what was going on in her child, the other side of the world, because it's her child's cells that are responding to her body or his body, and the mother's experiencing this. I go, what does that mean? It's like, You're not disconnected from your own kids. You are connected through a lineage of a field of energy that these cells are picking up from through antennas on the cell. The protein antennas are receiving a broadcast of identity. And the identity is not local. It's a broadcast. And all of a sudden it's like, well, all of a sudden it says that you're entangled. Yes, not only are you entangled with the world around you, but you're especially entangled as a woman with your own child. I say, well, this is real interesting. You know what aspect of it? Think about it. So you ever seen a National Geographic type video, or let's say with seals or penguins, and they're on the side of a coastline? Thousands of them. I say, what do? Well, the parent leaves the baby and says, I got to go get some food. Leaves the baby. So all these parents, 1,000 parents are going into the sea. 1,000 babies are left around. Guess what? When the mother comes back, she doesn't just find any baby. She finds exactly where her baby is. How the heck does she know her baby? There's 1,000 other babies right here. Because of the energy of the connection and the connectivity. So our human species is interconnected already by all these cells that are going from mother to child to family to network and all this kind of stuff like that. It's like, yeah, we are all involved in a network. And if we can get our network to be in harmony, then the world will manifest that harmony. Right now, our programming is disharmony, which is a Darwinian belief that life is a struggle for survival based on competition. I mean, Jesus, look at the world. It looks very Darwinian to me. I go, yeah, because that's your cultural belief.
Right, and that we're separate. We feel as though we're separate, but if we just embody this one concept that we're interconnected.
Right, and then you let go of the Darwinian belief and start to recognize that whole belief was wrong, that genes don't control life. It's not a competition among genes, that life is not competition, because before we got here, there was evolution. And I say, what was here? And I say, there was a garden. You say, a garden? I go, yeah, a garden. It's not a battleground. A garden is the height of cooperation. Darwinian theory is, no, world's a battleground. I go, completely wrong. But if you believe it, and you get enough people to believe it, and their tuning forks of belief are broadcasting, and enough people are broadcasting that same belief, then life becomes a competition for survival. And I say, we create that. Why? Because that's what we believe. I go, yeah, but it's biologically, that's untrue. I say, yeah, well, it doesn't make a difference whether it's true or not, because if we believe it, now it's real. And the whole idea is this: we have to change these programs, because all these programs are self-destructive. And that the new understanding of biology is a harmony with the world and the environment, living in harmony. Harmony versus disharmony is the difference between health and dis-ease. Health is harmony, disease is disharmony. And all disease can disappear as long as we learn to become in harmony. And so your work becomes very critical in this field, dearest Bethany, because what are we trying to do? Upgrade the field. Let's put us a different field. Why? If we're creating, why not create something more lovable than this? And the answer is, well, how do you do that? I say, change the program. And there you go.
And thank you so much. I'm going to recommend anyone to purchase Dr. Bruce Lipton's book. He has a 10th anniversary edition of The Biology of Belief, which is loaded with even more amazing information. So please do that. And thank you so much, Bruce. And I can't tell you, I know you would have really inspired a bunch of people. Please continue meditating for world peace. Hold the belief in our heart that it's truly possible. Don't circumvent that thought. Really take it all the way through. What would it feel like to walk through your life with the honeymoon effect, feeling peace from moment to moment, training your nervous system how to hold these beautiful spaces. And the more that we practice, the more we get to live there, as Dr. Lipton has just explained so eloquently. So thank you all so much for your time and your participation. And go to Dr. Bruce Lipton's page. It's brucelipton.com. And thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. I so appreciate it.
Thanks. So quick question, I gotta ask you a question now that we're off. Real question, do you think that the subconscious is connected to the infinite? I didn't want to get into that.
To the infinite?
Yeah, to the infinite. Do you feel as though the subconscious is connected to the field at large, to the quantum field?
The subconscious is connected to any field that vibrates in harmony with the programs in the subconscious, because they're in harmony, the field and the subconscious. Any program that's not in your subconscious, or any experience that's not in your subconscious, the subconscious has no connection to it at all. It doesn't understand anything. There's no connection. So are you living in love or are you living in war? I said, well, it's the one you're connected to. And the issue about that was, well, if I have a warmongering subconscious, but then damn it, I'm in harmony with war wherever it is. I'm not that I like it, but I'm certainly promoting it. So subconscious is only connected. The subconscious is only connected environmentally to those things that are programs in the subconscious.
So am I thinking about delta waves and the cerebellum and stuff like that? Like, what am I not connecting properly there or something? Or do you know what I'm talking
about? The vibrations, as we know, are creating a field, and that the field is shaping matter. That's what quantum physics says, and so that the connection between you and the world you live in is an energetic vibrational connection between your consciousness and the world. If you don't have a certain vibration in your consciousness, then you cannot experience it in the world because it's not connected to your world anymore. So we have to, if our world isn't working right, it basically says you better go in and change the programming because whatever you're broadcasting is not supporting what you really want. And so, yeah.
Delta wave, is that it?
Delta wave is sleep. Delta wave is sleep.
That's why I thought that was connected to the infinite. For some reason.
Well, delta wave is just you're low, like you're idling. You're not using the system very much. It's just maintaining itself. So while you're sleeping, consciousness is disconnected from the field. The body is just doing its program, and so consciousness is delta is just allowing the system to run on its own without your consciousness involved. Very interesting point. Let me give you an interesting example. When a person is a comatose person is on a gurney in a hospital and they hook them to a machine, they're almost constant. The heartbeat, the respiration is just constant and constant. But the moment they awaken, that all of a sudden it's all changed completely. So delta just means I'm not bringing my consciousness into the system. I'm letting the system with its program run the maintenance of the system. It's breathing. It's replacing cells. It's doing all this. I don't have anything to do with that. Delta, shut down. Just let the system operate at this idle, okay? But once you start to get into theta and then go into alpha and then go into beta and then gamma, your involvement increases at every level as you go up the scale, okay? So delta is really saying, consciousness is not controlling the vehicle at this moment. The inherent programs are going to control it. It's going to take care of itself without you. So a person on a comatose person is generally healthier when they're comatose than when they wake up. Because sometimes when they wake up, then all of a sudden they start putting the programs back in that may not be very positive and throw a monkey wrench into what was a machine idling and just running very smoothly at idle. But as soon as you wake up, you become the driver. And I say, well, what's the relevance? I say, well, look at a body as a vehicle. 2 cars. I got 2 cars come off the assembly line exactly the same time, perfectly identical cars. And then the question is this. Well, who's going to drive them? You get a teenage hothead to drive one car, and you get a mature adult to drive the other car. And which car is going to last? The answer, of course, the one that's going to last longer is the mature individual who takes care of the vehicle. The hothead's going to push that gas and brake and make it, it's going to push the heck out of it, and the vehicle will break down. The driver caused the breakdown of the vehicle, not the vehicle causing the breakdown of the vehicle. And so when you're comatose, no driver, what's it going to do? Just idling, just perfectly humming along, nice, perfect idle. But the moment you wake up, you're the driver, and the destination of this vehicle is now based on who you are and how you're going to do it.
Interesting. All right. Well, I thank you so much for your time. We had this, what was the question? This is immortality. Yeah, what about, but he talks a lot about immortality. I don't want to take too much of his time, but what's the specific question you have regarding immortality?
The moment he realized he was immortal.
Who's your stagehand? Who's your stagehand?
Here.
I met you at the yoga festival, the International Yoga Festival 2 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah. We had an amazing conversation. I told Bethany how awesome it was to meet you.
Well, I'm so glad you're there passing notes. This is good.
So the quick question, because
So I heard you explain the immortality because you are not in here, you are in the field, basically.
You're the broadcast. Look at the body as a television set receiving a broadcast. The spirit is the broadcast. The point about it is this: you're watching your TV. The TV doesn't work. You say TV's dead. And I go, yeah, TV's dead. It's not working anymore. Is the broadcast still there? How do you know? You get another TV, you plug it in and tune it to the station, and you see the broadcast is still there. I say, what about spirituality? I say, well, that's a broadcast. I say, how do you know if it's still here? I say, well, if you die, television's broken, but another organism, another biology, a body, a human, is born with the same antennas that you have to receive the same broadcast, you're back, but the television is different. Is it male or female? Not relevant. That's a television set. Black, white, yellow, red, that's a television set. That's not who you're the broadcast. We have to separate ourselves as recognizing, A, we're the broadcast, B, the physical body is the television set. And whether it's black, white, red, yellow, brown, that's the television set. It has nothing to do with who you are. But you will make that television an expression of yourself because you're the broadcast that's going to drive the behavior. So
that led you to realize you were immortal?
We're immortal. You can't die because the spirit is a broadcast. It's nothing physical about it. It's an energy. Energy isn't created or destroyed. It's here. You're continuously here, whether you're in body or you're not in body.
So
but the energy, though, is a more important one because the energy is not constrained by physical reality. So when you are in a spiritual entity action, you can manifest anything you really want. You're not limited by any physical belief. You can change anything. It's a dream. You can create anything you want. When you come in a physical body, there are then limitations in the physical world that we must deal with as well. But why are you here? Why are you here? To create. What are you going to create? Well, I prefer to create heaven. And then I go, well, if that's why you came here, then why wait till you die to see heaven? Heaven is right here.
I'm with you on that. I always say that. Why wait? That's why
Right.
wait. And it's possible. And we train. That's what we do in the Peace Project. We're training in coherence. So like athletes or musicians to hold the space, hold the space. So your work is so key to that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome so very much. So thank you for this opportunity, and I hope it's useful for the community. So I appreciate it.
We'll let you know it's in August. We'll be sending intentions to a violent neighborhood in Schenectady, New York, and then this interview will be repurposed in other cities throughout the world. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And
okay.
maybe we'll do it again. So I appreciate the opportunity.